gotta feel good hearing that music and seeing this guy, Luke Wilson, his first appearance on the Harvey-sponsored Sports Center with Jay Onright. Luke, great to see you, pal. This is exciting. I mentioned the Steelers are 10-point favorites, or 10-point underdogs on FanDuel to the Bills. And as I just mentioned, they'll be without their best player for this playoff game, T.J. Watt, dealing with that MCL sprain. So, having said all that, are you giving the Steelers any shot against Buffalo this Sunday?
I am. I mean, I definitely like the Bills to win, but Jay, if you take a gander at the forecast in Orchard Park, it does not look good. Now, I want to preface this by saying, Jay, I am not a weatherman. I can barely read these things, and it seems like it's always wrong anyways. But that being said, okay, how bad is it going to be? Is it going to be one of those games where right now it's projected to snow? Is it going to be high winds? And what kind of snow? Is it going to be one of those slush games where everything's slippery? Or is it just going to be the nice, light, fluffy snow where it's not that cold out? And the reason I'm saying this is if it becomes one of those games where it's rain, hail, snow, slush, high winds, then this really becomes, you know, a very tactical, physical matchup. I still would say that I like the Bills, but I think that that helps the Steelers. You know, you look at the running back situation. And James Cook for the Bills is a great back, and he's obviously had a lot of huge moments this year. But I really wouldn't call him a power back. You know, and you look at the other side, you got Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren. Jaylen Warren as their backup, he runs angry. Like to me, he's a power back. Najee's a bit of both. So if the weather is a huge factor, I think that this could be a very vintage, old school style playoff game, which would help the Steelers' chances. If it's not a factor, I got to roll with the Bills. I think that the Steelers team is got some flaws in it, and without T.J. Watt, it's going to be very, very tough sledding for them.
Let's head over to the NFC. We know you love the Rams to upset the Lions. We've been talking about it for a long time. But outside of that one, what's your biggest upset prediction from the other games this wild card weekend?
We got to go to the Bucs and Philly. And I understand. I really do that everyone's like, man, the Bucs aren't a good team. But I don't think they're a great football team here, Jay. But hear me out. Philadelphia is playing an alarmingly bad rate right now on both sides of the football. Now, let's go back to the Bucs. The Bucs defensively are not great. But what they do well is stop the run. I think they're fifth in the league as total yards, and they're tied for fourth. They only give up 3.8 per carry. So now you look at the matchup against Philadelphia, and if they can slow this run game down and force Jalen Hurts to throw the football, we don't know. Nick Sirianni said today that he's hopeful that A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith are playing. If those guys are playing, it's great in Philly. If not, who's he throwing the ball to? And even if they are playing, they'll be banged up, and the offense has looked horrid. Like, they don't have a very fluid passing game right now. It's just been go balls and hoping that one of those two guys makes a great, great play. So that's not a great matchup. And then on the other side, you look at Baker Mayfield. A few weeks ago, this guy went into Lambeau and had a perfect passer rating, and we're all singing Mayfield magic. Then he's played two divisional teams, has not looked great, and we all say this guy stinks. It's ridiculous how we ride the roller coaster with Baker Mayfield. And I'm not saying that he's a top 5 quarterback. That's not it at all. But he does have Mike Evans, who had a great year. Yep. Chris Godwin can still play ball. And guess what? Philadelphia has Matt Patricia calling the plays. So you know that that's going to be a disaster. So, yeah, if you're Philly right now, this is not a gimme, and this could be a potential upset. Because I could see Mike Evans having 100 yards, maybe a TD, Baker slinging it around, and unfortunately, one of their starters, London's very own, Sidney Brown, is not playing in a secondary that's already been very susceptible to pretty much everyone all year. This game will be very, very close, and Jalen Hurts is going to have to put the team on his back and find a way to win. I think you got to be alert for an upset there.
I can't wait for that one. It's going to be a fun one on Monday. It'll cap off the whole weekend. Going to turn to the coaching situation, Luke. The Titans, as I mentioned earlier, fired Mike Vrabel on Tuesday after finishing the season 6-11, missing the playoffs for the second straight year. And yet at the same time, it seems like Mike Vrabel is like the prettiest girl at the dance right now. Everybody wants to hire him. So were you shocked by this move by the Titans?
Yeah, I really wasn't. And I think that it's one of those rare instances where even if you listen to the owner's quote today, I don't necessarily think that Mike Vrabel was fired because they didn't think he could get it done. I think that him and the new GM really don't see or have the same vision, which is a big thing in this league. And, I would guess that part of it is the Will Levis situation. I think that probably Vrabel wanted to roll Tannehill, a more consistent guy, not bring in a rookie who might be more susceptible to making mistakes. Vrabel comes from that Bill Belichick style. We're going to play really tough, hard-nosed football, win it by the other team making mistakes. And I got a feeling this GM sitting out here saying, we got a star in Will Levis. We got to sit here, build around him, become an electric offense. And when you get those two opposite viewpoints on how to win games in this league, it just doesn't work out. Vrabel's been there for 6 seasons. He had obviously a very, very tough year this year. I think that Vrabel will be a head coach somewhere, and I think that it just wasn't a good fit for both sides. So I think it's a good move for the Titans, and I also think this is going to lead to a better opportunity for Mike Vrabel.
And Luke, we've been hearing Mike Vrabel's name tied to New England a lot for the last couple of weeks, maybe in a couple of months. It's Tuesday, and we haven't heard anything about the future of Bill Belichick. But do you think the fact that we haven't heard anything, and it's Tuesday, and if you're watching this, it might be Wednesday morning at this point, do you think that increases Bill Belichick's chances of returning as head coach of the Patriots next season?
I definitely do. And it's funny, Jay, because even when I was playing, I always wondered where these Muppets get their sources from. And how many things we hear like, as soon it's a done deal, it's a done deal, Bill Belichick's done. How many times did we hear that report? And like you said, all of a sudden now the season's over and it's crickets. It's been crickets. So I don't think Bill Belichick is done there at all. And again, it would just be a weird ordeal that if they were that for sure that he was done, why wouldn't they get him out in the middle of the year? Why would you let him finish the season up? I don't understand how this whole rumor came to be. I'm not sure if he'll have the exact same role there, but at this point, you got to think that Robert Kraft is considering keeping him, around for next season, and Bill's going to be back. And again, in his interview, which he does not say much, they did ask him if he wants to coach.
Yeah.
And that was the only answer that he gave, was that, hey, I love coaching, I want to coach, and I'm going to be a head coach somewhere. So I think when you hear that from Bill, and if Robert Kraft really has some time to digest the situation, I don't see anyone of the coaching candidates who's more qualified than Bill Belichick. This guy still knows how to get it done. It's been a couple rough years. I think if they get a better offense in that team, offensive coordinator coaching it, this team could be very good.
Couldn't agree with you more, buddy.